Urgent Birds fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest birds news, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. Unlikely to retain. T.E. Dallas Goedert absent pay. Cut several weeks ago, we heard the Eagles were interested in trading tight end Dallas Goedert. One report that surfaced at the time indicated the only way Goedert returns to Philadelphia in 2025 is if he accepts a pay cut. ESPN's Tim McManus offers more support for that notion, saying it is difficult to envision the Eagles retaining Goedert at his current rate of pay. Although the 30-year-old TE is only due a $1.25 million base salary for 2025, the last year of his current deal, his option bonus of nearly $14 million is seemingly driving the club's willingness to seek a trade, HT Dave Zangaro of NBC Sports Philadelphia. As McManus implies, the Eagles, who already have sizable commitments on the books for skill position talent like Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Saquon Barkley, may not view Goedert as a core part of their future. As such, they are apparently looking to extract some value for him now, rather than simply allowing him to walk in free agency in 2026. In addition to the option bonus, the fact that Goedert has missed 15 games due to injury over the past 5 seasons is also working against him, per McManus. On the other hand, he has remained a valuable contributor both as a blocker and receiver, and Philadelphia does not have an obvious replacement on the roster, their recent additions of Harrison Bryant and Kylen Granson notwithstanding. The top free agent tight ends have long been taken off the board, and the reigning Super Bowl champs will likely not be in a position to draft one of this year's elite TE prospects, absent a significant trade-up from their number 32 pick. The Eagles are not setting a high bar in trade talks. They are reportedly seeking a 4th-round selection in exchange for Goedert, and they are said to be willing to accept a 2026 or 2027 pick to facilitate a deal. The actual cash outlay aside, only a post-June 1st trade or release would yield any savings on the 2025 cap sheet. But even a post-June 1st transaction of some kind would only create a 2025 savings of roughly 4 mm. Still, it sounds like Goedert may have already played his last snap in an Eagles uniform. At last week's league meetings, head coach Nick Sirianni was asked whether he wants his TE1 back. Sirianni simply replied, "Right now, he's on our football team. Without some sort of contract restructure, that may not be the case for much longer." Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Eagles Nation news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks, now let's get back to the news. Eagles urged to sign $89 million All-Pro. As Genius WR3 option, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles offense in 2025, sometimes it seems like all that's left to argue about is minutia. Thanks to the wonders of cinema, we all know why those small things can actually define a season. The inches we need are everywhere around us, head coach Tony D'Amato Al Pacino says to the fictional Miami Sharks in his legendary Any Given Sunday locker room speech. It's the difference between winning and losing. For the Eagles, those inches might come at the 3rd wide receiver spot, where the talent goes off a cliff after A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. For Philadelphia, getting a player like veteran free agent Tyler Lockett could mean the difference in repeating as Super Bowl champions. The Seattle Seahawks released Lockett after 10 seasons on March 5th, and after the 3-time NFL All-Pro had 49 receptions for 600 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2024, his lowest totals since 2017. NFC East rival labeled favorite to sign Lockett, the Eagles, might also be well-served to coax Lockett away from one of their NFC East rivals, with Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox tagging Lockett as the one remaining free agent who could help the Dallas Cowboys the most. The Dallas Cowboys have their number 1 receiver in CD Lamb, but they still lack a quality second option. Adding Paris Campbell in free agency didn't solve the problem, Knox wrote on April 5th. Tyler Lockett, who was released by the Seattle Seahawks. This offseason should be a top target for Dallas ahead of the draft. The Seahawks cleared $7 million in salary cap space by releasing Lockett. With that in mind, the Eagles should start with a tongue-in-cheek and very fair 1-year, $7 million offer to try and get Lockett on the roster. Lockett signed a 2-year, $6 million contract extension with the Seahawks in March 2024 that included $12 $6 million guaranteed, which was all paid to Lockett in the first year. The former Kansas star has approximately $89 million in career earnings through the end of the 2024 season. Injuries were issue for Eagles WRs in 2024, adding Lockett might be the stabilizing force the Eagles need in the wide receiver room in terms of durability and productivity. If the 2025 season ends with another championship for Philadelphia, it looks like a genius move. Brown and Smith are one of the most expensive wide receiver duos in the NFL after signing contract extensions worth a combined $191 million, but missed 4 games each last season, and Brown has missed at least 4 games in a single season twice in the last 4 years. The current option at third wide receiver, former first-round pick Jahan Dotson, had career lows of 19 receptions and 216 yards during the 2024 regular season. That included 7 receptions for 94 yards in a meaningless regular season finale against the New York Giants. The Eagles traded a 2025 third-round pick and a pair of 2025 seventh-round picks to the Washington Commanders for Dotson and a 2025 fifth-round pick in August 2024. Lockett, 5'10" and 180 pounds, has only missed 3 games in 10 seasons and never more than 1 game in a single season. Has averaged 907 receiving yards per season over his career, including 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons from 2019 to 2022, and has 61 career touchdown receptions. 3 players Philadelphia Eagles must avoid in 2025 NFL Draft. Here are 3 players the Eagles should avoid in the first round. When it comes to the 2025 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles will have options at pick 32. Now sure, technically there will be 31 players already off the board when they pick, assuming Howie Roseman doesn't trade up, and the wily veteran GM could opt not to select in the first round at all if a good enough offer comes around. But if pick 32 rolls around and the Birds are still picking, they will be able to choose from a collection of players who can not only contribute right out of the gates, but could become long-term starters worthy of future extensions. And yet, there are a few players who could still be on the board at pick 32 who should give the team pause, not because they aren't good or won't be good moving forward, but because they are odd fits for what the team is looking to do, both now and into the future. While any pick could end up being a good pick or a bad pick, depending on how things shake out, betting on these players feels like anything but a sure thing. Gray's able, though Jeff Stoutland may be one of the very best offensive line coaches in the NFL today, with an ability to seemingly turn any random guy off the street into a solid enough reserve. The Eagles' offensive line currently consists of 1 first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, a 7th-round pick, and either a first or third-round pick at right guard, depending on if Tyler Steen or recent addition Kenyon Green win the job. If the Eagles were to invest another high-profile pick on an offensive lineman this year, no one would really bat an eye, especially considering neither Steen nor Green is under contract long-term, but picking a guard, who some believe might actually be better off as a center long-term, that would be an unusual choice, especially with a first-round pick. Standing 6'6", 312 pounds, Zabel played all over the field for the Bison over his 5 seasons in Fargo, logging snaps at left guard, right tackle, and left tackle for the perennial FCS contenders. He has 32-inch arms, one below the minimum threshold most teams expect from a tackle. Just ask Will Campbell, but because of his advanced NFL IQ, he's still widely considered a future first-round pick. Could Zabel immediately start for the Eagles at right guard in 2025? Sure thing, but because he will likely never be able to kick it outside to tackle long-term when Lane Johnson eventually retires, picking Zabel at 32 when other Day 1 starters will almost certainly be on the board feels more beneficial than adding a third player to their right guard battle. Better to add someone like Ohio State's Josh Simmons or Georgia's Tate Ratledge on Day 2 than Zabel at 32 should he fall to the spot. Jihad Campbell, once considered a favorite to land in the top 20 by many, if not most talent evaluators, Jihad Campbell has become a borderline prospect after a shoulder injury, with pick 32, becoming a popular landing spot for the Alabama linebacker. The problem? The Eagles don't draft linebackers in the first round and already have a very similar player in Zach Bond. Now sure, technically Bond is only locked in on a 3-year deal, and the Eagles could get out of his deal after 2 if he's unable to play. At an all-pro level once more, but assuming he at least comes close to playing at the level he did last fall. It's hard to imagine a world where he couldn't actually earn an extension off his current deal, instead of being replaced by a player with a similar set of skills. Can Campbell do more than most linebackers, even one selected in the first round? Sure thing, and plenty of folks have hypothesized about using him as a third down rusher, just like the original plan for Bond, but he's far more of a stand-up linebacker than, say, Jalen Walker, and thus would at best play alongside the 2025 All-Pro, as a long-term Nakobe Dean replacement, instead of a Swiss Army knife who can do a little of everything. And yet, in his 2025 two-round mock draft, that's exactly what Field Yates decided to do, giving the Eagles Campbell at pick 32, noting the value at the position instead of the fit with the Eagles. It hurts me to see Campbell have to wait this long. He's the final prospect on the board who ranks in my top 25, but after a recent left shoulder surgery, his health outlook for the start of his career is less clear. But this would be a classic example of the Eagles pouncing on a talented player who fell due to circumstance. Philly struck gold with a no-risk signing of Zach Bond last offseason, and the idea of a linebacker trio eventually composed of Bond, Nakobe Dean and Campbell is exciting. Campbell had 112 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and an interception last season. Have the Eagles taken value in the draft? You bet, but when Roseman drafted Dean, it was in the 3rd round. Not the first, despite many having a first-round grade on the Georgia linebacker. Bond signed to a deal worth less than $2 million, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. came off the board in the 5th round last year, when he was widely considered a top player left on the board when the 4th round opened up. Would Campbell find success? In Philadelphia? Sure, but he'd be a luxury on a defense that really needs pass rushers and coverage specialists, and not to mention out of character with what the team historically prioritizes. Emeka Egbuka on paper, the Eagles kind of need a wide receiver. Sure, in 2024, the Eagles' WR3 barely saw any action, with the combination of Johnny Wilson and Jahan Dotson combining for a paltry 24 receptions on 48 targets for 254 yards and 1 touchdown. But did that have more to do with the team's depth or Kellen Moore's commitment to running the ball at all costs, with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert getting the action left from Jalen Hurts in any given game? And yet, with the right WR3, it's easy to see a world where the Eagles' offense does become more dynamic, with a legitimate burner or a crafty YAC threat changing the offense up in the best possible way. Emeka Egbuka is not that player. The all-time leading yards getter in Ohio State history, Egbuka was catching passes all the way back when C.J. Stroud was quarterback and has remained a valuable contributor over that stretch. But he was never the best receiver on his team, with players like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Jeremiah Smith all outplaying him in one season or another. How much value should a team place on consistency? Does Egbuka's professional approach to the game add more to the Eagles as a WR3 than, say, Matthew Golden, who could unlock the offense as a deep threat, or the versatility Luther Bolden III could provide as a dynamic threat with the ball in his hand? On paper, the Eagles should feel comfortable drafting a wide receiver in any round, but they need to add someone who does something special, as opposed to a professional option who doesn't stand out in any one area of the game. Waited out for TCU's Savion Williams or Isaiah Bond on day 2, or hope Kyle Williams is there in the 4th round. But the idea of Egbuka wouldn't be an ideal use of a first-round pick. And now, Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Birds. I'll be back any moment with more Eagles Nation news. Fly, Eagles, fly!